Michael Thompson gripped the steering wheel, his knuckles white, as he stared at the lake house where his wife vanished moments ago. His heart pounded, not just from suspicion, but from the fear of what truth awaited. A woman's silhouette flashed across the window, then disappeared. Was it Lauren? Or someone else? The answer could shatter his family, but he needed to know. In the quiet college town of Charlottesville, Virginia, Michael Thompson, a 38-year-old economics professor at the University of Virginia, lived what seemed like a perfect life. His cozy suburban home, with its neatly trimmed lawn and swing set in the backyard, housed his 6-year-old daughter, Emily, and his wife, Lauren, a 35-year-old nurse at the local hospital. Michael was a man of routine. Early morning jogs along the Ravenna Trail, hours spent grading papers in his cluttered campus office, and evenings reading bedtime stories to Emily. His students admired his dry wit and knack for making complex theories feel relatable. Lauren, on the other hand, was the spark of their household. With her quick laugh and knack for throwing together last-minute dinner parties, she lit up any room. She was always put together, favoring tailored blouses and designer sneakers, her phone buzzing with notifications from friends and colleagues. Their marriage, now in its 8th year, had weathered the usual storms. Emily's birth had brought sleepless nights and new responsibilities, but Michael and Lauren tackled them as a team. They'd bought their home with help from Lauren's father, a retired cardiologist who insisted on a prenup to protect his daughter's inheritance. Michael, never one for conflict, signed without hesitation, tucking the document away in a drawer. Life moved smoothly, or so he thought. Lately, though, small things gnawed at him. Lauren's work hours had grown erratic. Her phone was always locked, and she'd started wearing a new perfume, sharp and unfamiliar. When he asked about it, she'd laugh it off, saying a coworker had gifted it to her. Michael wanted to believe her, but doubt crept in like a slow leak. Every Thursday, Lauren took what she called her me day. She'd head to Target or the mall, meet friends for lunch, and return home by dinner, full of stories about her day. Michael, busy with lectures and Emily's soccer practice, never questioned it. But the routine had shifted. Lauren came home later, her energy drained, claiming exhaustion from shopping or a long shift. She'd kiss Emily goodnight, then retreat to their bedroom, leaving Michael to handle bedtime alone. He noticed her phone buzzing more often, the screen lighting up with messages she'd quickly dismiss. Once, when he playfully grabbed her phone to check the time, she snatched it back, her smile tight. "Work stuff," she said, but her eyes didn't meet his. Michael tried to shake off the unease. He loved Lauren, her warmth, her drive, the way she made Emily giggle with silly voices during story time. They'd built a life together, one he cherished. But the doubts piled up. He started paying attention to the little things. A receipt for a coffee shop he didn't recognize, a faint whiff of cologne on her scarf that wasn't his. He didn't want to be the paranoid husband, the kind who snooped through drawers or checked phone records. Yet, the questions lingered, keeping him awake at night, while Lauren slept soundly beside him. One Thursday afternoon, as Michael wrapped up a lecture on market trends, a student named Caitlin approached him. A 22-year-old from Oklahoma, she had a directness that stood out in his seminar. "Professor Thompson, I saw your wife's car this morning," she said, her voice casual but her eyes sharp. "That BMW with the DN 123 plate, right? It was parked at a house on Lake Greer." Michael's stomach twisted. Lauren had told him she was running errands at Target. "Lake Greer," he repeated, keeping his tone even. Caitlin nodded. "Yeah, near my aunt's place. She went into a house owned by Kevin Brown, you know, the NFL guy. He's kind of a big deal around here." Michael forced a smile, thanking her, but his mind raced. Kevin Brown was a name he'd heard before. A linebacker for the Washington Commanders, known for his aggressive plays and off-field scandals. Kevin had been a patient at Lauren's hospital a few months back, recovering from a knee injury. Lauren had mentioned him in passing, joking about his charm and the flowers he sent to the nursing staff. Michael hadn't thought much of it then, but now Caitlin's words hit like a punch. Why would Lauren be at Kevin's lake house on her me day? And why had she lied about her plans? As he drove home, the autumn leaves blurring past, Michael felt a mix of dread and determination. He needed answers, but he wasn't sure he was ready for what they might reveal. Emily greeted him at the door, her pigtails bouncing as she showed off a drawing from school, a bright rainbow over their house. Michael hugged her tightly, the weight of his suspicions pressing harder. Lauren was still out, her errands, running late again. He cooked spaghetti for Emily, listening to her chatter about her day, but his thoughts kept drifting to Lake Greer. When Lauren finally walked in, her cheeks flushed and her purse slung over her shoulder, she looked every bit the devoted wife and mother. "Hey, hon," she said, kissing Emily's forehead. Traffic was a nightmare. Michael nodded, watching her closely. Her perfume hit him again, sharp, unfamiliar, and wrong. As Emily giggled over her dessert, Michael made a silent vow. He'd find the truth, not for revenge, but for the life he'd built with his daughter. Whatever Lauren was hiding, he'd face it head-on, for Emily's sake and his own. Michael couldn't shake Caitlin's words. The image of Lauren's BMW parked at Kevin Brown's lake house looped in his mind, each replay tightening the knot in his chest. He wanted to confront her, to demand answers, but he knew better. Accusations without proof would only push her away, and he couldn't risk that, not with Emily caught in the middle. Instead, he watched Lauren more closely, searching for cracks in her routine. The next Thursday, Lauren left early, her purse stuffed with what she called her shopping list. Michael dropped Emily at school, her backpack bouncing as she waved goodbye, then drove to his office. But his focus was shot, papers piled up on his desk, and his lecture notes blurred into nonsense. By noon, he gave up and called his graduate assistant to cover his afternoon class. He needed to know where Lauren was going. Grabbing his keys, he headed to Lake Greer, a 20-minute drive from Charlottesville. The lake was quiet, its shores dotted with vacation homes and the occasional fishing boat. Kevin's house, a modern two-story with floor-to-ceiling windows, stood out among the older cabins. Michael parked a block away, his sedan blending in with the neighbors' cars. He waited, his eyes fixed on the house. Lauren's BMW wasn't there, but that didn't ease his nerves. Maybe she'd parked elsewhere, or maybe Caitlin had been mistaken. He was about to leave when a sleek black SUV pulled into the driveway. Kevin Brown stepped out, his broad frame unmistakable even from a distance. Michael's pulse quickened. Then, a familiar figure emerged from the passenger side. Lauren. She wore sunglasses and a light jacket, her movements casual as she followed Kevin inside. They didn't touch, but the ease between them, the way Lauren tilted her head when Kevin spoke, told Michael everything he needed to know. His hands shook as he reached for his phone to snap a photo, but a dog barked nearby, startling him. Afraid of being seen, he drove off, his mind a storm of betrayal and doubt. Back home, Michael pored over the details of Lauren's behavior. Her me days had always seemed innocent, Target runs, coffee with friends, maybe a yoga class. But now he saw patterns. She'd come home late, her phone buzzing with messages she'd ignore in front of him. Once, when Emily had spilled juice on Lauren's purse, Michael found a receipt for a restaurant he'd never heard of, dated for a Thursday, when Lauren claimed she'd been at the mall. He'd brushed it off then, but now it felt like a clue. He checked her iPad, left charging on the kitchen counter, and found her calendar. Every Thursday for the past 2 months was marked with vague entries. Errands, lunch, or simply out. No specifics, no names. It wasn't proof, but it was enough to fuel his resolve. That night, Lauren was all smiles, helping Emily with her homework and teasing Michael about his overcooked chicken. She seemed so normal, so present, that he almost doubted himself. But when she stepped out to take a call, her voice hushed and her back to the room. The suspicion roared back. He couldn't live like this, second-guessing every word, every glance. Emily deserved better, a stable home, parents she could trust. Michael knew he needed hard evidence, something undeniable, to protect his daughter and their future. He called a colleague, Sarah, who'd gone through a messy divorce a few years back. Over coffee at a quiet campus cafe, he shared his fears, keeping his voice low. Sarah listened, her eyes kind but firm. "Don't confront her yet," she advised. "If you're wrong, you'll damage your marriage. If you're right, you need proof for the prenup to hold up." Get a professional. She recommended a private investigator, someone discreet who specialized in cases like this. Michael hesitated. Hiring a PI felt like crossing a line, but Sarah's words stuck with him. "You're not betraying Lauren," she said. "You're protecting Emily." The next morning, Michael met with Sam Clark, a private investigator with a no-nonsense demeanor and a track record of clean, legal work. Sam's office was small, cluttered with files and photos, but his confidence put Michael at ease. "I'll get you what you need," Sam said, jotting down Lauren's schedule. "No laws broken, no drama, just facts." Michael handed over a photo of Lauren and the details of her Thursday routine, feeling a mix of relief and guilt. He was doing this for Emily, he told himself, but the weight of distrust settled heavier on his shoulders. As he drove home, Emily's drawing from the day before flashed in his mind. The rainbow over their house, a symbol of the life he wanted to preserve. Lauren was waiting when he got there, stirring a pot of soup, her smile as warm as ever. "Rough day?" she asked, brushing a kiss across his cheek. Michael nodded, unable to meet her eyes. He didn't know what hurt more, the possibility that she was lying or the fact that he was now lying to her too. But he'd see this through, for the truth and for the daughter who needed him to be strong. Michael's days became a blur of routine and suspicion. He taught his classes, helped Emily with her spelling homework, and smiled through dinners with Lauren, but his mind was elsewhere. Sam Clark, the private investigator, had promised results within a week, but each passing day felt like a test of patience. Michael caught himself analyzing Lauren's every move, how she lingered over her phone, the way she deflected questions about her day with a laugh. He hated this version of himself, the one who doubted the woman he'd vowed to love, but the image of her walking into Kevin Brown's lake house burned too brightly to ignore. On Wednesday, Sam called. "Got something," he said, his voice clipped. "Meet me tomorrow, 9 a.m., my office." Michael barely slept that night, his thoughts tangled in what-ifs. What if Sam had proof? What if it was worse than he imagined? When morning came, he dropped Emily at school, her chatter about a class field trip barely registering, and drove to Sam's office. The investigator greeted him with a nod, sliding a manila folder across the desk. "Take a look," Sam said. Inside were photos and a USB drive. The photos showed Lauren and Kevin at Lake Greer, standing close on the porch, her hand brushing his arm. The timestamp was last Thursday, just as Michael had suspected. The USB held a short video, captured by a drone. Lauren and Kevin inside the house, laughing over coffee at a kitchen counter. It wasn't explicit, but their familiarity, the way Kevin leaned in, the way Lauren smiled, cut deeper than any overt act. Michael's chest tightened. "Is this enough?" he asked, his voice hoarse. Sam nodded. "For a divorce lawyer, yeah. It shows opportunity and intent. The prenup should hold." Michael thanked him, paid the invoice, and left, the folder burning a hole in his briefcase. He drove to campus, but instead of heading to his office, he sat in his car, staring at the photos. Lauren looked happy, unguarded, in a way she hadn't with him in months. The betrayal stung, but what hurt most was the lie. The life she'd let him believe was real. He met with his lawyer, Rachel, that afternoon. A sharp, no-nonsense woman who'd handled faculty divorces before. She reviewed the evidence with a practiced eye. "This is solid," she said, tapping the photos. "With the prenup, you're in a strong position for primary custody of Emily and financial support. But you need to decide how to proceed, confront her, or file quietly." Michael wasn't ready to face Lauren yet. He needed time to process, to plan for Emily's sake. Rachel advised keeping things normal at home. "Don't tip her off," she said. "If she suspects she might try to spin it." That night, Lauren was in high spirits, planning a weekend picnic for Emily's soccer team. She moved around the kitchen with ease, chopping vegetables and humming, while Michael played along, nodding at her stories. But every smile felt like a mask. When Emily ran in, holding a soccer ball and begging him to practice with her, he seized the chance to escape. Outside, kicking the ball across the yard, he found a moment of clarity. Emily's laughter, her trust in him, was what mattered. He'd protect her, no matter what came next. The next Thursday, Michael braced himself. Lauren left early, claiming a brunch with friends, but he knew better. He didn't follow her this time. Sam's evidence was enough, but the knowledge of where she was going gnawed at him. He focused on work, grading papers, and prepping for a lecture, but his thoughts kept drifting. What was Lauren getting out of this? Was it love, excitement, or just a way to escape their life? The questions looped, unanswered. Then, a new piece of the puzzle emerged. While picking up Emily from school, Michael overheard a conversation between two parents. One mentioned Kevin Brown's wife, Tessa, a local Instagram influencer known for her fitness videos and charity fundraisers. She's been posting cryptic stuff lately, the parents said. Something about knowing the truth. Michael's curiosity piqued. If Tessa suspected Kevin's affair, she could be an ally or a wild card. He spent that evening scrolling through Tessa's Instagram, her polished photos interspersed with vague captions about loyalty and betrayal. One post, dated yesterday, showed her at Lake Greer, the same lake where Kevin's house stood. The caption read, "Sometimes you have to see it to believe it." Michael debated reaching out. Tessa could have her own evidence, maybe even a plan. But involving her risked escalating things, and he wanted to keep this clean for Emily. Still, the idea lingered. He emailed Sam, asking him to dig into Tessa's recent activities, just in case. Sam replied quickly, "On it. Give me a couple days." As Michael tucked Emily into bed that night, reading her favorite book about a brave explorer, he felt a shift. The truth was close, and with it, a chance to rebuild. He wasn't just fighting for justice. He was fighting for the life he and Emily deserved. Michael stood at a crossroads, the weight of Sam's evidence heavy in his mind. The photos and video confirmed Lauren's betrayal, but they also forced him to confront what came next. He couldn't unsee her smile with Kevin, the ease in her laughter. It wasn't just about the affair. It was the life she'd chosen to hide from him, from Emily. He wanted to storm into their home, demand answers, but he knew that would only spiral into chaos. For Emily's sake, he needed to stay calm, to act with purpose. Justice, he decided, would come through patience and the law, not anger. Sam's follow-up report arrived 2 days later. Tessa, Kevin's wife, had been spotted at Lake Greer multiple times, her car parked near the house during Lauren's visits. Sam included screenshots of Tessa's recent Instagram stories, cryptic messages about facing the truth, and a photo of the lake with the caption, "Time to take back what's mine." Michael sensed an opportunity. If Tessa knew about the affair, she might have her own proof, or at least a willingness to help. But he also saw the risk. Tessa's posts hinted at a fiery temper, and he didn't want this to turn messy. He needed her cooperation, not confrontation. With Rachel's guidance, Michael arranged a meeting with Tessa. They met at a busy Starbucks in downtown Charlottesville, the hum of conversation masking their talk. Tessa arrived in workout gear, her long ponytail swinging, a large iced coffee in hand. She eyed Michael warily as he introduced himself. "You're the professor, right? Lauren's husband." Her voice was sharp, but there was a flicker of sympathy in her eyes. Michael nodded, keeping his tone steady. "I know about Kevin and Lauren. I think you do too." Tessa's jaw tightened, but she didn't deny it. "Every Thursday," she said, stirring her drink. "He says it's team meetings, but I'm not stupid. I saw her car at the lake house last week." Michael explained his situation. The prenup, his need for undeniable evidence, his focus on protecting Emily. He showed Tessa one of Sam's photos, careful not to reveal too much. "I have what I need from my lawyer," he said, "but if you're planning to act, let's do this smart. No scenes, no fights, just proof we can both use." Tessa leaned back, considering. "I was going to barge in, record them myself," she admitted. "But you're right. I want my divorce clean, too. Kevin's got sponsorships riding on his image. He'll hate losing those more than anything." They agreed to coordinate. Tessa would visit the lake house the next Thursday, armed with her phone to capture evidence, but she promised to keep it discreet and share the footage with Michael. The plan felt solid, but doubt crept in as Michael drove home. What if Tessa lost control? What if Lauren suspected something? He turned to therapy to steady himself, meeting with a counselor recommended by Sarah. In a quiet office, he unpacked his anger, his hurt, the fear of failing Emily. The counselor helped him reframe his goal. This wasn't about punishing Lauren, but about building a stable future for his daughter. Michael started journaling, too, writing letters to Emily he'd never send, promising to be the father she deserved. It grounded him, gave him clarity. Thursday arrived, and Michael went through the motions. Teaching, lunch with colleagues, picking up Emily from school. Lauren left early, her usual brunch with friends, excuse ringing hollow. Michael didn't call Tessa, trusting her to follow through. Instead, he focused on Emily, helping her build a Lego castle after dinner. Her giggles were a reminder of why he was doing this. Late that evening, Tessa texted him a link to a video. It was short but damning. Lauren and Kevin in the lake house living room, laughing and sharing a drink, their body language unmistakably close. Tessa had stayed calm, filming from outside without being seen. She added a message, "Got what we need. My lawyer's ready. You good?" Michael replied with a simple yes. "Thank you." He forwarded the video to Rachel, who confirmed it strengthened his case. "You're in the driver's seat," she said. "We can file whenever you're ready." Michael felt a strange mix of relief and sorrow. The truth was out, but it came at cost. He looked at Emily, asleep with her stuffed bunny, and made a silent promise to shield her from the fallout. Therapy had taught him he couldn't control Lauren's choices, but he could control his own. He'd fight for justice the right way, through the courts with evidence, for the life he and Emily would rebuild together. With Tessa's video and Sam's evidence in hand, Michael was ready to move forward. He met with Rachel to finalize the divorce papers, his resolve firm but his heart heavy. The proof of Lauren's affair was undeniable, ensuring the prenup would protect his financial stability and primary custody of Emily. Rachel laid out the next steps: serve Lauren the papers, negotiate a settlement, and prepare for a court date if needed. Michael nodded, but his focus was on Emily, how to tell her, how to soften the blow. He didn't want her to see her mother as a villain, only to know she was loved. That evening, Michael sat Lauren down after Emily was asleep. The living room, usually warm with the glow of family nights, felt cold. Lauren sensed something was off, her smile faltering as she set down her phone. "What's wrong?" she asked, her voice tight. Michael took a breath, keeping his tone even. "I know about you and Kevin. I have proof, photos, videos. I'm filing for divorce." Lauren's face crumpled, tears welling up. She didn't deny it, didn't fight. "I'm sorry," she whispered, her hands twisting in her lap. "It wasn't supposed to be like this. I got caught up and I couldn't stop." Michael listened, but her words didn't erase the months of lies. He told her he wanted to keep things civil for Emily, that she could still be part of their daughter's life. Lauren nodded, too shaken to argue, and left the room to pack a bag. She'd stay with a friend until they sorted things out. Breaking the news to Emily was harder. Michael waited until the weekend, taking her to their favorite park. As they sat on a bench, eating ice cream, he explained that he and Mommy would live apart, but would always love her. Emily's eyes filled with tears, her small voice asking, "Did I do something wrong?" Michael hugged her tightly, his own eyes stinging. "No, sweetheart. This is grown-up stuff. You're perfect." He promised she'd see Mommy often and that he'd always be there. Emily nodded, clinging to him, and Michael vowed to make good on every word. The divorce moved quickly. Lauren, faced with the evidence, didn't contest the prenup. She agreed to joint custody, with Michael as Emily's primary guardian, and moved to an apartment in Richmond to start over. Kevin's affair became a quiet scandal in Charlottesville. Tessa filed for divorce, too, her evidence costing Kevin a major sponsorship deal. She channeled the attention into a new fitness app, her Instagram following growing. Michael stayed out of the gossip, focusing on his daughter and his work. Therapy became a lifeline. Michael attended weekly sessions, working through the betrayal and his fear of failing Emily. He joined a support group for single parents, finding solace in shared stories. Emily started counseling, too, her therapist helping her navigate the changes. She thrived in school, her drawings now filled with bright suns and smiling stick figures. Her, Michael, and sometimes Lauren. Michael leaned into their routines, coaching Emily's soccer team and hosting movie nights with popcorn and blankets. Each laugh they shared rebuilt a piece of their home. A year later, Michael was a different man. The university promoted him to department chair, recognizing his dedication. He and Emily took a summer trip to the Outer Banks, building sandcastles and chasing waves, their bond stronger than ever. Lauren visited monthly, her relationship with Emily steady, if not perfect. She'd started a new job and seemed remorseful, but Michael kept their interactions polite and distant. He didn't hate her. He'd learned to let go, to forgive for his own peace. Michael also began volunteering at a local family resource center, leading workshops for parents navigating divorce. Sharing his story, he found purpose in helping others find their strength. One evening, as he and Emily baked cookies, she looked up at him, flower on her nose, and said, "You're the best, Dad." Michael smiled, his heart full. The pain of Lauren's betrayal had faded, replaced by a life he'd built through patience and love. Justice had come not through vengeance, but through the law and his commitment to Emily. As they laughed over their lopsided cookies, Michael knew they'd be okay. Together, they were unstoppable.